Old Testament is written in Hebrew. The New Testament is written in Greek. There's a little bit of Aramaic in the Old Testament, so if somebody comes with you a trivia and says, but trust me, it's so small, it's only in Daniel and one of the book, but it's not a big deal in Jeremiah. So Old Testament Hebrew, New Testament Greek. Why did God choose those languages?
They're the languages of the person he's using to write.
Okay, one, they were languages of the person, very simply, providentially, just happened to be the language they were using at the time. Maybe there's even a good reason why God providentially had them use that language.
He knew they were going to die. That language was going to die, and then
It actually didn't. They're still speaking Hebrew today, which is absolutely a God thing. If I get into study of language, you'd be like, that's another one of proof there is a God. Because there's no language, by the way, that has ever remained when you lost the land. In all of history, there's no language that ever remained when you lose control of your land. The Hebrews lost control of the land from 70 AD up to 1948 or 45 or whenever they... That is amazing. They speak Hebrew today in Israel. That's a God thing. God is God. Anyway, but that's not me getting off on the Joel thefts. Joel, there is a God. He's got a plan. It's awesome. But the reason why Hebrew, it's sort of interesting. Those languages are interesting, and I tell you this because I think it'll be helpful. The Old Testament is written in Hebrew. Hebrew is a very picturesque language. Often the words cannot be translated. Satan in the garden, when he says to Eve, did God really say that you must not eat of the fruit? You remember that thing. Many times your versions will say something like, indeed, did God say this? Or really, did God say this? Something like that. That word indeed or really, the Hebrew for it, I have a hard time doing it, is it means nostrils flared and exhale of the mouth. That's what the language says. How do you write that in language? We can't translate it into English. So Hebrew is a very picturesque. Now let me say this. Did God really say that you shouldn't eat this fruit? Does that mean a little different than did God really say that you shouldn't eat this fruit? Hebrew is picturesque. Now you might not know the Hebrew language, but understand that you don't have to get like into every prepositional phrase and every clause, and that's why it's easier to interpret because it's not detailed. It's like, I'm trying to tell you a big story. You got the big story? Oh yeah, we got the big idea. McDonald's is fast food. The Bible is healthy food. I got that idea. I don't need to know that, did she say that McDonald's hamburgers versus the fries versus I don't need to know that. Hebrew is the big story, and guess what it's trying to go, wow, look at? God. So God is on display in all of the Old Testament. You know what? Read a whole chapter. What's the big idea? Wow, God. And you know what? That's great. Go to the next one. Application, in light of God? Oh, therefore I need to. So that's why I love Old Testament story. That's why I'm always going, why isn't anybody studying the Old Testament? Because it's like the best part of the Bible. That's the best, but it's excellent part of the Bible. So, yeah, she's laughing because she's seen me do this before. So, don't be intimidated by the Old Testament. It's the easiest one to do. It's a story. Let's read it. Let's tell, what's the big, okay, let's just retell the story. Okay, wow, in light of what I just retold, where's God? Oh, there. Judgment, grace. Oh, I see it. So that's all you have to do. No, I might have missed some things that I didn't know indeed went, I didn't know that, but I got the big idea. Okay, so that's what you're looking for in the Old Testament. In the New Testament is written in Greek, which is one of the more technical languages that have ever been invented. And not that you have to know Greek, but Greek is like, let's say I said the word hit. Now in English, H-I-T, it's just like hit, okay, hit. Doesn't say a whole lot to us. But in Greek, that verb would mean, and this is why your pastors will preach things when you're like, whoa, that's like even deeper. That's what the English said, but it gave it even bigger. Because in Greek, that little verb would mean, I was just standing here doing nothing, and she came over and just hit me. One time, just hit me. Ow, ow, why'd you do that? Okay, all that means in that word hit. Or maybe I was like, she hit me, but I actually did the action. Does that make sense? It's like, like, she hit me. And you guys are going, oh, sorry about that. That hurt. Okay? Or it could mean she hit me and forever I'm experiencing this. It's a one-time thing. It's a forever thing. Am I passive? Am I involved? Now, in light of what's in the New Testament, does that interest you? Am I saved, or am I involved, or does God do it, or if I just stand here, or does it last forever, or is it just a one-time thing? Those are pretty cool things. That's Greek. So they try to do the best they can to interpret in English, and a lot of it does it, but the Greek will get more detail. That's why sometimes doing word studies is interesting. Look for your verbs. Your verbs will tell you many times who's doing the action, how long, all that stuff. So, but again, big idea is great. God created, that's good enough. But if you want to get more detail, so if you understand general, Hebrew is going to be a picture, New Testament is going to be more the detail. And you might get to something that you go, you know what, this is really driving me crazy. I need to know, do I do this? Does God do this? Is it forever? Is it a one-time thing? Do I need to keep doing it? What does this verse mean? You know what? Then you might want to go to Daniel Bennett or someone who's a Greek person and say, explain this verse to me in the Greek. What does that verb mean? Is it forever, forever, forever? If you abide and you continue to abide and you abide forever, then you'll know that you actually were my disciples. So you say you're my disciple, you'll only know if you keep going. Oh, man. I don't know if I can. I don't think I can. Oh, guess what? I'm going to have to lean on God because I know I won't. That's the type of things we get out of the New Testament.